Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to another edition of the Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, and we're breaking it down today, breaking down the UFC Las Vegas card with our resident MMA analyst, Scott Holburn. He's going to join us momentarily. Yeah, it's been great to see this card and great to be able to talk to many people about this card, headlined by Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Dan Hangman Hooker. Wow. One of the fights of the year. Fights. Just one of the best fights I've ever seen. Just a phenomenal performance by both guys. They really gave us our money's worth, and it's going to be so fun to talk to Scott about this today. So stay tuned. Glad you could join us. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got 10 fights to break down on this card, and then there's a 1 week break heading into this coming weekend as they head to Fight Island in Abu Dhabi for 4 fights in 2 weeks. So we're really excited as UFC and MMA fans. I'm sure you are too. Thanks so much for joining us, and let me bring Scott into the conversation here momentarily. Okay, yeah, I think I've got Scott on the line, patching him in. Here we go. Yeah, thanks a lot for joining me today, Scott. Great card we're going to get to break down today. It was an amazing weekend.
It was a great card. How are you doing, buddy? It was an awesome card this weekend. Holy smokes!
I'm doing really great. Yeah, and you? How was your weekend all around?
It was great. It was awesome. I had watched the card pretty late, so I was up pretty late watching. But man, I don't know. I don't know how these pay-per-views are going to compete with these small cards. I mean,
I know.
Like every night, there's 1 or 2 fight of the year candidates, and every one of these cards, it's crazy.
Yeah, it has been crazy. Just exciting, and yeah, you're right. We look so forward to a lot of these, UFC numbered events, and they put title fights on, and a lot of big names are on the card, and sometimes they disappoint. And a lot of these cards in Vegas, these last 4, have just been phenomenal. I've enjoyed them so much, and I've actually went back and watched some of the fights 2 and 3 times, and it's so fun to be able to chat about it with guys like you. It's been awesome.
And yeah, I mean, you can watch these fights. Like I said, I was texting you earlier. I watched the Hooker Poirier fight again, and I scored it differently.
Yeah, tell me about that.
And that's how close it was. And but like honestly, and tons of underdogs coming out of nowhere and winning. Yeah. And that just makes it exciting, because oftentimes when it's so predictable, oh man, and then when a guy comes from behind to win, like that Erosa Woodson fight on the weekend.
Yeah, Woodson had the advantage for sure on the feet, and but Erosa just kept with it and got an amazing submission. All right.
I mean, Woodson's going to be the real deal. I mean, he's a strange looking guy. I mean, he's kind of like just all arms and all legs, but he's the real deal. I mean, that kid is awesome. And I mean, Erosa maybe that's his experience. Erosa's been around forever, and he just got in there and eventually was able to get him down and get that Darce choke. But oh man, like, I mean, I don't know if you have the stats with you or anything, but I mean, Woodson must have outstruck him, 3 or 4 to 1.
Yeah,
but,
definitely. Yeah, like
Woodson's
got 4. Yeah, he's got a 40. I think he had 49 boxing fights, 46-3. I think he was in boxing before he made his move over to mixed martial arts. And
his hands are lethal.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Holy cow, just impressive. Yeah, and I thought he was going to take him out on a few occasions, but Erosa's this is his 3rd shot at the UFC. He's been cut twice, and he just seemed to have that experience factor and just didn't panic. Just seemed to know that he would make a mistake, Woodson make a mistake, and he'd be able to capitalize. And that Darce choke just looked crazy. It was just wrapped up into a pretzel. Nothing he could do. But
I mean, it's funny you said, because Erosa wasn't even on the roster for the UFC.
Yeah.
They just need someone to, because Woodson was, I think, preparing for someone else, and they needed someone to come in and I think they called Rosa on like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
And he came, so not only, and he was the biggest betting underdog on the card.
Wow.
And he came out and gets him in the third. I love when someone pulls off submission late in the, and there's two like that too. The Kama Worthy versus Luis Pena fight. Another awesome fight, just back and forth. And Pena is again this young, up and comer. What do they call him? They call him the
Violent Bob Ross.
Violent Bob Ross, because that crazy hair. I mean, he looked great too, but Worthy just kept pressing, and then got him with that guillotine. Holy smokes, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, I can't believe how great Worthy looks physically. Like, he just looks like he's so strong, so massive for that weight division. And I'm impressed with Pena, but Worthy just, holy cow, just wouldn't give up, and amazing submission late, like you say. And yeah, it's great when submissions happen like that, because it's more challenging, more difficult. You're so much more tired, and you're sweaty, easily slip out of moves. And but two great late submissions. It was fun. But let's not get away from the main event. Let's break that down. I'm amazed that you said Poirier won that first round, in your opinion, because I haven't heard that from other analysts. But tell me what you saw that made you think that.
Well, like I said, the first time I watched it, I gave rounds 1 and 2 to Dan Hooker. And I mean, round 2 was definitely Hooker. I mean, that round 2, Hooker dominated that round for sure. But when the first round again, when I watched it again, it's just how much the accuracy of Dustin Poirier. I mean, he was landing everything that he threw. So yeah, he didn't look like he was throwing as much, and also too, it looked like Hooker was landing a lot more than he was. But watching it again, I mean, Poirier was smooth. He was parrying a lot of the shots. He was blocking a lot of the shots. So for me, one judge had it 49-46. So one judge must have, I mean, I don't know which round it was, but must have given that. I mean, no one gave Poirier the second round. I can't imagine. So one judge had it 4-1 also. So, but man, did Poirier look good. Holy smoke! After being off for 9 months, to look that good and have that much accuracy in his shots. I mean, he was landing at something like a 65 or 70% landing rate, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So he didn't tire out.
Yeah, I
being
had
out
heard
for 9 months. It's crazy.
Yeah, I had heard something crazy like 76% accuracy at some point in the fight, and then they started breaking it down, and he was about high 60, 70%, and just especially because Hooker had attacked that lead leg, tried to take that away from Poirier, but it just seemed like in between that second and third round, something changed with Poirier, and I think he just came out totally different. That third round really looked phenomenal. Fourth round even better, and then fifth round, all the analysts were saying, I think it's 2-2 now, and then definitely Poirier won that last round. And I did see some of the scorecards. But I definitely thought Hooker was ahead 2-0 before that third round, and maybe if that second round lasts another 10 seconds, maybe Hooker actually takes him out, because he had him in trouble, and I think he hit him about 10 straight times before the bell sounded.
Oh yeah, he was in trouble for sure. I mean, you can see it at the end. He was barely able to stand. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just experience with Poirier. But man, did he look good. And he has been outstanding since moving up to 155. Again, not making that huge weight cut. Yeah. I mean, you look at the fight against Conor. I mean, Poirier looks dehydrated and thin and gaunt. And I mean, he's only lost twice since moving up to 155. He had one sort of slip up against Michael Johnson, and then of course to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and who beats Khabib? So
yeah, no, you can't fault him for that.
But man, does he ever look good?
Holy cow! Yeah, that was impressive. That was definitely an amazing performance. And I was talking with Jason Cameron yesterday, and And he said diamond a couple times, and then I'm like, oh man, that's why he's called diamond, because it's, you know, the hardest surface on the planet. And he just showed, you know, how tough he is. Like he took so many shots in those first couple rounds, and even in the, you know, next few rounds he took so many shots, but he just kept coming and just putting it on Hooker, and you know, coming back from being down, you know, on two of the fight judges' cards, he was down 2-0, and, you know, was able to pull out a victory. And it was just yeah, it was, to me, it was one of the best fights I've seen, and it just constantly got better and better and better as the fight went on.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to watch it again for a third time, because, you know, you just see the experience in Poirier. I mean, he was calm, and every time he would take a shot, though, he would make Hooker pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
You know, so that,
Yeah.
I mean, aside from that second round where Hooker really, you know, took care. But, you know, I was surprised to see Hooker even trying to, you know, I think Hooker was getting tired at the end, because he started trying to shoot, trying to do a little bit of groundwork. I mean, and Dustin Poirier is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So definitely on the ground, Poirier, I mean, even when Hooker did have Poirier down, Poirier was fighting from the guard, looking for submissions, looking for triangles. You know, Poirier is like, I was never a big fan of his at 145. I kind of thought he was going to be one of those gatekeepers. Man, he's one of my favorite fighters to watch now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, definitely. I've been so impressed with you know, his difference in caliber, and, you know, the amazing fights that he's been in since he has moved to this weight class, and yeah, I mean,
And
the
the
sky's the
maturity
limit.
he shows in the ring and outside, in the octagon and outside the octagon. I mean, he's good for the sport.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it was something that I really wanted to talk about, that Forrest Griffin Humanitarian Award that he was acknowledged as the inaugural recipient. I was really excited to see that, and they went in a little bit to his humanitarian stuff around his community, but wow, I researched more into it, and holy cow, I can't believe all the things that he's done in the last 2 years with his foundation and his wife, around their, you know, community, even into Africa. They've been helping people. They've been feeding homeless and helping out families, and oh my God, it's just on and on and on and on. And you know, Forrest Griffin has been known for that most of his life, and he's one of my favorite guys. And it's so nice that award was named in his honor and then given to Poirier, who's, you know, amazing fighter, but even better outside the cage. So pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing is he's auctioning off his fight kit. I mean, I think he started that with UFC 211, they said, and all the proceeds for that go to the food harvest, the food bank. I mean, the guy is just, you know, it's something that the sport needs. We haven't seen someone like this since GSP, and you know, Poirier is a type of guy that, you know, you can build a sport around. I mean, he's talented. He's a family man. He's awesome at the sport, and he's doing all the philanthropy. He's doing everything right.
Yeah.
And when you see him in the post-fight interview, he's very mature. He's talking about, you know, just trying to, you know, take care of himself as well as be a fighter, you know, and you can see it in the cage. I mean, after a 9-month layoff, no one should look that good.
No kidding. Yeah. No, I even heard that he paid for all the tabs of everybody at the local hamburger place where they show the UFC. He said, everybody, free meals and free drinks on me for the whole entire place. So, you know, it must be pretty fun to live in his hometown and be able to go and get a, you know, free night watching him fight.
And you know what? It rubs off on people. I mean, when he started doing this, he and Nurmagomedov, sorry, not good with his name, but Khabib and Dustin exchanged shirts after their title fight, and you know, Poirier auctioned off Khabib's shirt to go for charity, and Khabib did the same thing, auctioned off Poirier's shirt, and then sent the money to Poirier's charity.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
you know, it
great.
rubs off on other fighters, and it's good. It's good for the sport.
Yeah.
And Poirier's shirt actually got $100,000, while I think Khabib's only got 60,000. So, you know, people like him. People are respecting him.
Yeah, no, he's popular, and it's great. And it's great that he's, he's realized, you know, how his popularity can bring in so much money to foundations, and then have that money to spread out to the charities. This particular award, he got a $25,000 check that he could contribute to the charity of his choice. And um, I I received a message of support from Forrest Griffin just before launching this podcast, and you know, I'm super thrilled at the level of quality of so many of these fighters. And I hope people, you know, get to know these guys outside of what they do for a living. A lot of them are just amazing human beings, and a lot of them come from some tough backgrounds. And now that they've got the platform, they've got the money, they've got the notoriety and fame and ability to raise funds, they contribute so much back to their inner cities and the areas that they're from. And, you know, it helps so much around for them. And yeah, I love it. I've got Forrest Griffin's book right in front of me. I recommend it. It's one of my favorite reads. And he, you know, he started this many years ago, and it's great to see other guys jumping on and using this platform to help out.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it's actually fun to watch the fighters and get to know them a bit, which is a good segue into our co-main event, because people got to know a little bit about Mike Perry too at the end of that one. We'll talk about that. But oh man, did Mike Perry look good?
Wow.
I can't believe how good he looked. And this is a guy who didn't have any kind of camp. Doesn't have a team right now, and man, he had his girlfriend in his corner. He didn't even have any coaching staff. So I don't know if you ever saw between the rounds there, you know, the cameras on them, and she's saying, "You're doing great." He's like, "All right, sounds good." You know,
Yeah.
but
no,
boy,
that's actually got a lot of press since he decided that he wasn't going to bring any cornermen, and I've never seen that. I've been following fighting my whole entire life, and I've never seen a guy walk into a fight with 0 corner people. He doesn't have a team, so I guess he thought, well, what am I going to do? And because of this pandemic and the way that they're being so restrictive on allowing people into the arena, he wouldn't have even had any family members there, no girlfriend. And so he thought, okay, well, I guess I can make her a corner person and come in and help me. But, you know, to be able to dominate like he did, and just look so good. Like physically, he looked phenomenal. Everywhere the fight went, he was super dominant, and just, you know, was able to really, really shine. And yeah, it's going to help his career, boost him up after 2 straight losses coming in and doing that. It was amazing.
Unbelievable. I mean, he not only did he. We all know he's a good striker. I mean, he has a boxing background, but he dominated Mickey Gall on the ground.
Yeah.
He twice, I believe, got into full mount on Mickey Gall and was just raining down elbows on him. And Mickey Gall is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who's known for his grappling. And everyone said, well, if Mickey Gall's just got to stay long and take it to the ground. Mike Perry didn't care. Mike Perry took him to the ground and did whatever he wanted to. I mean, Mike Perry looked good. He looked. Not only did he look physically ready, but he was mature. He didn't do that, like you always say, get in a phone booth and start swinging. I mean, he looked great.
Yeah.
And you know, at the end of it, he's got to find a team. So he did a call out looking for anyone, looking for a team to go to. So he's talking about going down to South Florida. So maybe joining the old Black Zillions or American Top Team down there. I don't know, but if that guy can get a good solid team with them, and like you said, he's looking for a team of friends. I guess he's had, you know, bad luck in the past, but you know, he was with Jackson Wink for a bit and Excel for a while. But you know, it's if that guy can find a good team and a good support system, he'll be a much better fighter, and he'll be unstoppable.
Yeah. I have been a little critical of Mike Perry a little bit in the past. Just I think he maybe shouldn't talk so much outside the cage, because he definitely can come across a bit of like a thug. And I prefer fighters that, you know, use their smarts and use their platforms for good, and not come across as somebody that's just, just a kind of a gangster type of thug. And I really, cringe a lot of times when you hear him say this stuff. But, he really impressed me. And, I definitely got a lot more respect for him. I just wonder how teams will react to him not having a corner. A guy doesn't want to train somebody for months and months and months and then not have the ability to get paid by going to a fight. We'll see, if he gets any backlash from the MMA industry, doing that, because, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of no glory, no money. If you don't get paid, it's tough, if you, to support a guy. So.
Well, something went sideways at Jackson Wink. I mean, I don't know, something's not right down there. I mean, after Cowboy Cerrone left, Cowboy was really critical, because it was actually during his training for Mike Perry that Perry joined Jackson Wink, and it sounded like Winklejohn didn't even care that two opposing fighters, he wasn't trying to keep them separate or anything like that. And the way Cowboy Cerrone talked about is that, if your person want to go in there and pay $150 a month, they'll train anybody. They're not too worried about the fighters themselves. So I don't know. I mean, if you watch the post-fight press conference, Mike Perry was about as vulnerable as I've ever seen him.
Right.
Talking about how he's, can't get in control of his finances. He's, looking for a team, and he's kind of lost right now. So that's the most vulnerable we've seen Mike Perry. So if he gets in with the right guys, he seems like he wants a team, he wants to improve, and wants to get control of his life. So
yeah, let's hope.
Hopefully he can find someone. I know a few fighters reached out to him after that, and including Coach Kavanaugh, but I don't know if he's going to make the journey over to SBG over there. But but he looked as vulnerable as I've ever seen him.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of vulnerable, Maurice Green, after his surprising win over John Vellante, it's surprising just in the sense of it was a unique choke. I couldn't believe how hard it was for Maurice to compose himself. He felt like he was in jeopardy of losing his job and not being able to support his family, and pulled out that huge win over Vellante, who was moving up from light heavyweight to heavyweight. And I was pretty shocked by the tap that happened there.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, I gotta agree with the with the commentators, and all of them said they'd never seen anything that really be a choke. So I'm not sure. It wasn't an Ezekiel. He didn't have his fist in there or anything. I think Vellante just kind of gassed out and just sort of tapped out of exhaustion more than anything. I mean, if Dominic Cruz says that's not a submission, then I'm going to take his word for it, But yeah, I don't know. Vellante, I mean, he came in at 255, and this is a guy who usually fights at 205. So he didn't look like he was in good shape there. So I don't know. I mean, if Vellante wants to stay at heavyweight, he's got to get, down to more like the 235 region. And he's got to get don't get me wrong. Mo Green is hard to hit. He's a big guy. He's long, but when Vellante did hit him, he took him. He could knocked him out, almost knocked him out. So
yeah,
I don't know. It was a weird fight, that one. It's again, I was surprised too. I thought Vellante was going to use his experience and was able to get in there and knock him out. But I mean, you could hear Vellante's corner between each round. They were furious with him. Yeah. They couldn't believe it was going this long. So I don't know what to say. I mean,
yeah, I was surprised. So was I. I was very surprised. It was so different from anything I've seen from Vellante. Vellante is very, very talented. He came in. I couldn't believe the punch around the middle. He looked really out of shape, and
the lack of aggression. I mean,
yeah, I was really shocked. It was weird. I didn't really get what was happening there, and but he after. after Green had thrown the Superman punch and he got him down, and he was so close to finishing it. But yeah, you're right. He probably did get gassed out. But I'm shocked that a guy with that much experience and that much wherewithal, could maybe not be without oxygen for a few seconds and tap. Like, we can last a long, long time without breathing, and there wasn't anything choking off any blood or anything. So it was really bizarre. It's just like maybe he just didn't even really want to be there right from the beginning. So don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they called it an arm triangle choke, but there was his arm wasn't in. I don't know. I have to watch it again, and maybe I haven't seen the interviews with Vellante after. I want to see exactly what happened, but it to me that was a tap from exhaustion, and I think he was down 2 rounds, and he was definitely down 2 rounds. So they were it was a minute 15 left in the fight, so I guess he just didn't feel like he had enough to finish him, so he tapped out.
Yeah. Well, that leads me into the other heavyweight fight on the card, and it's sort of closely linked to it because, you talk about Vellante not being in shape, but we saw this Canadian Tanner, the Bulldozer Bozer, and that guy looked in shape. He kind of looks like a bit of a light heavyweight, but the shape that he was in and amazing knockout that he had, it was a complete 180 from how Vellante was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what he weighed in at. I mean, they have him down as 260, but there's no way that guy was 260 in that fight. But he definitely looks like a light heavyweight because he has the speed of the light heavyweight. And I mean, if that guy can keep it up, I mean, he's fighting out of Edmonton there over at Frank Lee's Muay Thai, and he's got a big future in front of him. I mean, he looked awesome.
Yeah, he looked so awesome, and he said he had never fought at that weight. He had dropped 10 pounds, and he felt so quick. He thought it was the way for him to take advantage of Philippe Lins from Brazil, and I mean, he was so accurate with his punches. He looked just like amazing shape, and he just took advantage. He was able to hit him with a right, stiffen him up, and then just every other punch from that point forward until they stopped the fight it was on the money. And Herb Dean had to like really try to aggressively pull him off. It was like a big barrel roll to get him, but and then in the post-fight interview, it was great. He called out Maurice Green and said, they had some words at the pool the night before, and he had ducked them in August, and he said, "Let's do this," and Green accepted after. So maybe they'll be able to do this quick in Abu Dhabi as a late replacement, or fit him into a card.
Well, yeah, maybe. And if not, they're coming back to the Apex, I think, for they're coming back to Las Vegas for the DC's fight coming up. So, I don't think they'll be in Abu Dhabi long. I mean, I think three or five events they have there? 4 events?
4 over 2 weeks. So like Saturday, Wednesday. I think that's how they're making it. Yeah.
So I think for the remainder, I think the Apex Center will be the home for UFC. We'll see how it goes. I think they were in these arrangements at the very beginning where they didn't think they were going to be able to get any sanctioning in the U.S. to fight. But now that they can do it at the Apex Center and the Athletic Commission in Vegas is letting them go ahead, I think you'll see the Apex Center sort of being the main place. But I mean, if they can get him back in there, I mean, he looked good. And I don't think he didn't take any damage at all, so he should be ready. Shouldn't be any suspension there. He should be ready to go at any time.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's nice to see. There was a few losses by Canadians on some of the previous cards, and it's nice to see him step up. And he looked so great. He looked physically amazing, and just so quick. I think that is an advantage sometimes. Like a guy like Junior Dos Santos did that. He came in, usually around 225, 230, and was able to, use that speed advantage and take control of a lot of fights and knock guys out as well. And if you come in at the upper limit, 250, 260, 265, you got a ton of power, but you can gas out quick, and you just don't have the same quickness. So it's great to
Yeah, I
see.
mean, that's not, again, going back to that Volante. I mean, I can't. I'm speechless about how big he was. I mean, 255 from 205. He didn't even look like the same guy.
No.
Didn't have the speed and obviously didn't have the endurance. But yeah, I mean, Bozer looked great.
Yeah. So on the card, there's a few other fights. You mentioned Rosa. Is there anything more that you want to talk about that fight? It was a really impressive performance, and Woodson. Yeah, I think Woodson's gonna be really good. He's young. He was 7-0 going into that fight. Only got one loss, and I think he's got a great future. But it's nice to see a guy get a third opportunity and take advantage of it. And Rosa looked good with that Darce choke.
Yeah, Rosa looked really good again. But I think Woodson is still the story of that. I mean, that kid is got amazing hands, and he's got a big future ahead. And we haven't seen the last of him. Apparently, they were having trouble finding opponents for him for the last while because every guys just don't want to fight him. He's hard to hit. He's unorthodox. I mean, he's he's kind of like a bigger Dominic Cruz, like he moves so quick and his hands are so good. It's I'm excited to see Woodson fight again. I mean, I understand Rosa got the win, but see, a guy like Woodson you can see he's gonna learn from this. He's gonna grow from it, and he's gonna be a better fighter from it. And we haven't seen the last of him because his hands are so good.
Yeah. This next side I want to break down brings up a really interesting point for me, and it's happened quite a bit in these Vegas fights. There's been a lot of pullouts. It has happened over the history of the U.S. where there's some late pullouts, guys get injured, people can't make weight. There's issues and stuff, but the last 4 or 5 events have been really interesting where guys are getting calls on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hey, can you come and fight? This last fight, Jason, the Vanilla Gorilla Witt, got called on Thursday. I think it was something like 9 hours later. He had to be on a flight to fly to Vegas to weigh in, and then he's fighting right away. And he stepped in late notice. It's brutal. He only lasted 48 seconds, and Takashi Sato knocked him out. I feel sorry for a guy having his opportunity and losing that quick, but Soto sure looked great out of Henry Hoof camp.
Yeah, Soto. I mean, that wasn't a surprise. I mean, again, no one knew much about Jason Witt, but Soto wanted to come out and make a statement. I mean, he lost his last fight to Bilal Muhammad, so he doesn't want to come in. And the problem was that we've seen a lot of guys lose to these late newcomers this past week. So he doesn't want to be like Camacho last week, who got knocked out.
Justin James knocked.
Yeah, exactly. So
out, yeah.
But yeah, I know Soto, Takashi Sato looked really good. Calm. Yeah, looked really good, calm. And, it's hard to say. I mean, I'd like to see him in some stiffer competition, fight another guy like Bilal Muhammad caliber fighter, and then we'll see what he's made of. Because he beat Ben Saunders late last year also. So, he's a young guy. He's got a good future ahead of him too. But that's one thing I do like about the fights being at the Apex Center, because they can get guys in from anywhere in the U.S. kind of last minute. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that if someone pulls out late in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be hard to find a replacement for them.
Yeah. Well, I know that they had the Abu Dhabi because that was more of the international fighters. They weren't being able to come into the U.S. So hopefully they've got people on standby that they say, if need be, are you ready? I know that there's American fighters fighting on those cards in Abu Dhabi, but I think that's a lot of the undercards are international fighters and fighters that will be a lot closer. So yeah, we'll see. It's a whole new animal with it being a 10-mile bubble and
that's actually part of one of the good things is that because they have 4 events there, they can move guys around on the card. Because I think all those guys are there now. I mean, even Dana White wasn't in Vegas for that last fight. So they're all over there now in that 10 mile or 10 kilometer radius where there's no one else. Everybody gets their own training center. All the teams are together. So I think they can move guys around. So they had to bring someone from another card, then they could replace someone later on by bringing someone in, and then still be able to make sure that they're quarantined and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. There's one more fight on the main card. Brendan Allen had the decision victory over Kyle
Dockhouse, yeah.
Dockhouse, yeah. Have anything to, bring to the table with that one?
Brendan Allen looked good. I mean, he's a young guy. He's only 24 years old. He's a black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so, he's a good ground fighter, and went to university in Louisiana, so he's probably got a bit of a wrestling background there. But yeah, he looked good. I mean, he was on he came out of the Contender Series, I believe. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I heard,
yeah, and so I mean, he's now, that was his third or fourth fight in the UFC. So he hasn't lost yet since coming to the UFC. So he's young and he's going to be fun to watch. And that's what's great about these cards. You're going to see all these young guys. You're going to see these up and comers, and it's opened up a whole bunch of doors for a bunch of young fighters out there who were hungry and want to keep fighting. So he's another guy I wouldn't be surprised to see him on another card soon.
Yeah, it definitely has been a breath of fresh air, bringing in a lot of these younger fighters, or even not necessarily young, but unknown, and fighting in other fight promotions, and never having this opportunity, but suddenly getting a chance. And we always talk about sometimes that at the upper echelon, who's ever going to come and beat them, because they've the champ has beat everybody down the line, and all of a sudden, boom, we see some new fighters who, emerge, and it's like, oh, okay, he just has to maybe have 2 fights and has an opportunity soon. So yeah, it's kind of neat. It's injected some new blood into the UFC, and I'm finding it exciting. It's hard to find a lot of information about guys until they get into the UFC, but once they're there, then they get their opportunity, and some of them have been taking the bull by the horns and getting some really big wins.
Well, this again goes back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the team sport, because Brendan Allen comes out of Duke Rufus's camp, Duke Rufus's Rufus Sport. So when you got teams like this, they constantly got young guys coming up, and a guy like Duke Rufus will know who's ready to move up, who's ready for ready for prime time, as they say. I mean, didn't work out so well the other week with with the controversy, but it's pretty cool to see that these guys are all part of the same team and they all support each other, and again, that's why we've been talking about how this is a team sport.
Yeah. I saw an amazing workout today that really blew me away. It was Kamaru Usman training with Justin Gaethje. Yeah. Did you see any of that footage?
Yeah, I saw some of that. Yeah, they were really feeding each other there in the stomach. But
yeah. I mean, two champs, being able to compete against each other, it's pretty great. It's rare in this sport, but Kamaru Usman, same camp as Gilbert Burns. Now they're facing each other in a championship fight, and I really can't wait until we get into really breaking down so many of these teams and really showing people, the caliber level on so many teams that are around the U.S. and around the world. It's going to be really, really fun to sort of show, the level of competition that they would be facing on a daily basis, and the guys trying to get you ready for your fights. It's really neat. It's an aspect of the sport that I think is under publicized. It's just not out there enough.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the UFC tried to do something like try to promote that a few years ago when they did the Ultimate Fighter, when they did American Top Team versus the Black Zillions, and for some reason that was the least popular one of their Ultimate Fighter series. So it's they've tried to do something with that before, but it's hard now. I mean, now with with the Reebok deal, you can't have it'd be nice to have guys who are all wearing their own sort of team jerseys and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
what people don't know is that so many of these events, they're, usually only like sometimes 4 or 5 different teams, and they've got all their guys competing against each other. So
yeah, quite often you'll see, the same 3 guys on 3 separate fights during the night. They've got 3 fighters, 3, 4 fighters that they bring from their team, and it's a way for the UFC to reduce costs a little bit, and for the teams too as well, and bring them in. And I think it's a neat aspect. Another organization that's been trying to make it happen is that Professional Fighters League, and Rory McDonald is one of the main faces of that league right now. And I really enjoyed actually watching it, and it did get quite a bit of viewership on TSN and wherever it was in the US being broadcast. And they're not sure if they're going to be able to have any fights go with this pandemic and not having people in the stands. I just don't think they have the same clout as the UFC. But Rory McDonald says that he really believes in it and thinks that it's the way of the sport to go. So we'll see if they can survive and have some fights coming up soon. It's going to be pretty neat. Did you ever see any of the PFL?
I haven't seen any of it yet. But again, I think competition's good. I know that UFC kind of dominates right now, and having Bellator there as well. But there's good quality fight leagues all over the world, with ONE and the EFN and stuff like that. I mean, so I think the more competition, the better.
Yeah.
And then it keeps everybody on their toes, keeps everybody looking for the best, quality competitions like that. But I haven't had a chance to see any of it yet, but
yeah, let's spend some time and we'll watch something together, and we'll be able to break down some of the other leagues too. Another league that comes to mind is the Invicta, and that's where a lot of these female fighters are coming out of. And the 2 fighters that faced each other on the earlier prelims card was Kay Hansen and Jin Fry. And Kay Hansen looked great. She's the youngest female on the card, 20 years old. And she said she got into the sport because of Ronda Rousey. And she did her proud by giving a really great armbar victory, getting a really good armbar victory. And it was pretty impressive. Both those girls looked great.
Yeah, I mean, she looked really good. I mean, she looked really calm and composed for someone who is 20 years old. She trains under the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, so the Eddie Bravo, flat Earth. Kidding, but so she looked. But for a purple belt, she looked awesome. 20 years old, she looked really, really good. I was really, really impressed.
Yeah.
The Invicta, I've been watching Invicta for years. I've always enjoyed it, and it's nice to see some of the fighters that sort of come from Invicta over to the UFC. And now the UFC's, I don't know if the UFC owns Invicta or if it's a subsidiary of WME now. I'm not sure, but I mean, there's good quality fights coming in, good fighters coming out of that league for sure.
Yeah, well, Jin Fry was actually the champion there, and Kay Hansen said she was really excited and a bit shocked that she was facing the former champion in her UFC debut. So they obviously thought highly of her to have her facing the former champ from the same league that they came from. But the composure for a 20-year-old, it doesn't happen in UFC. Usually these fighters aren't getting into the UFC until their mid-20s and even later. And she didn't look like anything bothered her at all. I heard she runs 2 of the gyms for Eddie in California, and for a 20-year-old to be doing that and at purple belt level, super amazing. Like, wow.
Yeah, and again, she's, like I said, for 20 years old, she looked great. She looked mature. I mean, Fry's been around a long time too. I mean, she was actually stripped of the belt in Invicta, the atomweight division. So, I would have thought that moving up to 115 down, because she used to fight at 105. I thought moving up to 115, she wouldn't have the weight cut to worry about. I was expecting, with her being would have been the bigger fighter of the 2, but both small women. But it was a good fight, and I was surprised. I mean, it's just it. If you're calm, mature, things go your way. She looked good. I mean, Kay Hansen just kept at it. And
and I guess Ronda Rousey reached out to her after because she had heard that she was her hero growing up, and Ronda, extended congratulations, and hopefully she gets an opportunity to meet her. And Ronda's a pioneer in the sport, and it's great to see. That's something that I've always noticed. These fighters that reach the upper echelon, and then all of a sudden 10 years later, 15 years later, all of a sudden we start seeing the people that were influenced by them, and they were able to make their way up to the sport, and all of a sudden these fighters can look back and say, oh wow, congratulations, and to know that they were that influencing factor to bring them into the sport, and now they're having success too. It must be pretty cool for the former fighters like Ronda.
Yeah, and one thing that's pretty cool, what they're doing right now, which the UFC didn't before, is that they're showing the tweets of all the fighters and all the people as the fights are happening. And I mean, between the rounds, and it's pretty awesome. And everybody is watching these fights, the whole world, from all sporting world. I mean, this is the only thing that's going. So the viewership the television viewership must be just through the roof.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a neat element to that, seeing those tweets, and they are coming from all different types of people, and entertainment industry, music industry, different sports. It's been fun. I like it, and I don't want to be distracted too much by it, but I just keep seeing them coming up through the fights in between rounds, and it's a neat element to it. It's adding, and I think it's engaging more people too, which is something that they'd love to do. I want to break down the first fight of the night. Jordan Native Psycho Griffin against Yusuf the Moroccan Devil Zalal. That was a lot of fun though. Those two guys really were very talented. There was a lot of movements, a lot of attempted takedowns that were stuffed, and then finally there was some takedowns. It was a good fight. I really liked that start off the card.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, I'd never seen Zalal fight before. Had you?
No, never did.
No, yeah. So I mean, it was nice to see. I mean, he looked good. Didn't get the win, but I mean, overall, I mean, Jordan Griffin. Both these guys, I think, both of them with their UFC debut.
I believe so. Yeah.
So it was entertaining, and it's nice to see stuff that's like back and forth, and it was awesome. I mean, the whole card was like that.
Yeah, they did give Zalal the unanimous decision, and actually he got 29-28 to rounds.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Zalal beat.
Zalal did get him, but nice fight to start the card. I was pretty impressed with two guys making the UFC debut. They showed composure as well as what we were mentioning earlier, and I look forward to more opportunities for both of them. I think they both did really well and went to in decision, but it was great. And any more comments about the Kama Worthy Luis Pena fight? What's your final takeaways from that one?
Well, I mean, Kama Worthy. I mean, that was just pure grit. And I mean, after he got that guillotine on Pena, he goes over to whoever, I don't know who was. I guess Dana White wasn't there. Maybe it was Sean Shelby screaming, "I'm for real! I'm for real!" I mean, he looked good. I mean, he was like he looked really good. And I mean, Pena. I mean, he's a young up and comer, and he's got a good career ahead of him. But man, Worthy and Worthy got a much deserved win out of it. I was going to say I thought maybe he got the bonus, but it wasn't. It was Rosa and Kay Hansen that got the bonus. But Worthy looked good. I mean, he just no quit, and I think everybody had Pena, winning the fight. The violent Bob Ross. That's who I was expecting as well. But Kama Worthy looked really good.
Oh man, did he ever? Yeah. Impressive. Yeah, he's got the full toolbox, and it was an amazing performance, I thought. So Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't covered in your mind? Is there anything else that we should talk about before we look ahead a little bit to 251 in a couple weeks?
No, we went through that whole card pretty
Yeah.
good there.
Yeah, that was,
It was fun.
it was so fun. Yeah, incredible fun. It made my whole weekend really happy. That Saturday night was fantastic. I watched it live, and I have watched numerous fights from the card since. And that if you haven't seen the Poirier Hooker fight, please do not miss it. Go and watch it. There's lots of ways of watching it. I like watching, obviously Fight Pass, has an opportunity to watch it. If you don't belong to Fight Pass, MMAcore.com is a really great way to watch a lot of fights. YouTube can show, highlights and, different rounds and things. But yeah, watch it, please. It's one of the best fights. You'll be really, really impressed. I can't tell you enough that these two guys really just went to war, and it was just a brilliant display of a will to win by Poirier, and both of them, they have very, very, very bright futures in the UFC going forward.
And that's not the last time we're going to see those two fight. I mean, you even saw them when they were shaking hands at the end there. There's some unfinished business, I think, in Hooker's mind there. So I think that you'll see these guys fight again.
Yeah. I've heard that Tony Ferguson, I think, is going to be up for Hooker next. That's kind of the rumors that I've been hearing the last couple of days. And Poirier, I don't know if he can wait that long to face the winner of, out of the Khabib fight. So I'm not sure what's next for Poirier, but yeah, I think the Ferguson Hooker fight should be unbelievable if they can put that together. And that's the rumors I'm hearing. Had you heard that?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one yet, but man, would that ever be a good fight? Holy smokes! Yeah. Like that would be crazy.
I know. Yeah, it makes me excited just saying it. So, but yeah, let's look ahead a couple weeks to the UFC 251. We talked about it briefly a couple weeks ago, but let's just touch on it briefly. We've got 3 title fights on the card, and we might as well start with the main event: Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, former teammates, maybe still teammates, but yeah, I actually haven't heard how they've broken down the camp for that, but yeah, that's going to be another fight of the year for sure.
Yeah, I know everybody wanted Jorge Masvidal to get the shot, but I think Gilbert Burns deserves it. That performance against Tyron Woodley, he looked great. He hasn't lost since moving up to welterweight. He's beaten Damian Maia, and the former champ. So I mean, he's definitely the guy I think who deserves to be next in line. Usman, though, I mean, he is going to be hard to beat. I don't know. I mean, because Usman's a much bigger fighter than Gilbert Burns, and I just can't see anybody on beating Usman right now. I mean, he looked so good in his last few fights, and he's very unassuming. That's the thing. You think it's like he just controls the pacing and just lures guys into the fight that he wants. And I think Burns is going to have a tough time with him. I mean, he looked so good against Colby Covington, so good.
Wow.
And and to finish him that late in the 5th, I mean, it looked good. He looked good against Tyron Woodley, against Rafael dos Anjos, Damian Maia. I mean, the guys fought everybody.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I mean, he had said one loss again in his second, when I think his loss was let me look it up here. 2000 guy hasn't lost since 2013. It was his second pro fight. So
amazing. Yeah.
Usman he's the real deal.
Yeah. I believe that guys like Usman have been able to come in and dominate the sport because of a guy like John Jones, a different type of style of fighter than we ever saw at light heavyweight when John Jones came in. Israel Adesanya, reminds me of of a smaller version of Jones. Usman, you know, the same type of thing. They just seem to be these hybrid fighters that are so quick, so agile. They've got power, but you know, they're so difficult to hit, take down. When they, you know, wherever the fight goes, they seem to be dominant at it, and you know, they're just rising up to the top. And it's you know, it's crazy how unbeatable they do seem at times.
Yeah, you know, and that's just it. I mean, maybe I'm underestimating Burns, but I remember Gilbert Burns is a guy who got knocked out by Dan Hooker, you know, not that long ago. So, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, he's looked so good since moving up to welterweight. I think that weight cut down to 155 was just too much for him, you know. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's the right fight to make, and I have Usman. If I was a betting guy, I would take Usman, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised at how well and how much he controlled Tyron Woodley. So
Yeah.
and Woodley was passionate going into that fight too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think Burns is a pit bull. You know, he definitely has a really legitimate shot at it. It is the fight to make. Masvidal, yeah, maybe, but no, I agree with the UFC and how they've made this. I definitely would side with Usman on this, but we've seen, you know, some big upsets in the past few years, and you just really never know, and that's why we watch them. Let's go to the co-main event with Volkanovski Holloway 2. Is there any way that Max can change up the game plan enough to take Volkanovski out, in your opinion?
well, you know, Volkanovski worked that front leg, and then you know, led with the front leg, and then used combinations to push Holloway back against the cage, and didn't let Holloway control the center of the octagon at all. So Holloway has got to be able to figure that out. He's got to be able to stay long. He's a much bigger fighter than Volkanovski. He's got to be able to stay long and keep his back off the cage. He's got to use good movement and check those leg kicks. Because Volkanovski, again, he's a powerful guy, and you know, he's got good wrestling. He's got, you know, he's going to be a guy who's going to be hard to knock down because he's got that, you know, that type of stance that makes him really tough to take down. So I think that he's going to have to stay long and watch out for that leg kick and keep it in the middle of the octagon. If he gets his back up against the cage and, you know, Volkanovski gets on the inside, I don't think he's going to have a long night ahead of him. But
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's true. I've been impressed with the blessed era that we've seen. Max Holloway has dominated so many opponents over the years, and you know, a lot of times people weren't expecting him, you know, to be able to win. Brian Ortega was, you know, a typical example. I think everybody thought Ortega was taking it, and Holloway looked amazing. And
yeah, I mean, I had Ortega going into that fight too. I mean, again, maybe I'm just biased because he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but man, you know, like Holloway though, I think that the cut is, I think this is the wrong division for him. I think if he loses this fight, which I believe he will, you'll see him go up to 155. I know he did that with Poirier. It didn't go his way, but I think this is a tough cut down to 145. You know, he's getting to be almost 30 now. He's 5'11", so he's not a small guy. You know. So I think, you know, lightweight's probably where he needs to be. You know, if you look at Volkanovski is only 5'6". You know, so he's going to be a little bit of a rock to hit out there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Volkanovski just looks so good against Holloway, and we've seen some holes in Holloway's game the last couple of fights, you know, with the Poirier fight and with this last Volkanovski fight. So
yeah,
I think that you know, he's got to go back to 155 if he doesn't win this.
Yeah, that's a smart move, and you know, I think it's inevitable if he can't take it, he kind of has to. Yeah, I mean, it didn't go well with Poirier, but you know, he's had, you know, so many huge fights and been able to be pretty dominant in almost all of them. So Volkanovski, just so compact, just so difficult to bring down, and just yeah, I mean, like you say, those calf kicks were ruthless. So hopefully they can figure out a defense for it, and he can check them and not have that front leg compromised like it was. And I hope Holloway really shows shows the best Holloway we've ever seen, and I would love him to take the victory so we can maybe have a trilogy fight, and he's able to recapture the glory. And but I think it's going to be a great fight, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime Holloway gets into the octagon, I mean, his fights are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who that's just it. He's a guy who usually likes to control the pace. He's a guy who usually likes to control the fighters and get them to fight his game. And Volkanovski just wasn't going to do that. He just stuck to his game plan and was able to push him back against the cage. So if Holloway can make the right adjustments, which are going to be hard to do against a guy like Volkanovski, he should be able to do it. But Volkanovski just looks so good in every one of his fights. He's one of those guys when you I don't know when you first see him, he's like a rugby player out there, just moving forward and so fast and so unorthodox and so hard to hit. And he's beat everybody too. I mean, he's fought Jose Aldo and beat him. He beat Max Holloway. He's beat Chad Mendez. He beat Darren Elkins. He's beat all. This is his time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Volkanovski, I believe, was a Aussie Rules football player, and that's
Don't doubt it.
Yeah, that's the other sport that he was involved in. So, yeah, I mean, you got to be a very, very tough guy to compete in that sport, and yeah, I mean, this low center of gravity, just solid as a rock, and yeah, I think he might be in for a long run as the champ of that division. And you mentioned Jose Aldo; he's fighting for the belt. Peter Yan, I don't see Yan losing. I think he's just too unbelievable these days, and so. Yeah,
there's two guys in the UFC that scare me. And Peter Yan it's a scary dude. Him and Khabib are probably the two most scariest guys in the UFC. I mean, Peter Yan just I don't know, man. Every time he goes in the ring or into the octagon, he looks like he's gonna kill somebody. Like he is. I don't know. I mean, Jose Aldo's got the experience. Jose Aldo's been through it all, but man. Peter Yan is just I don't know. It looks like if he doesn't beat you with his hands, he's gonna take out a gun and shoot you or something. I don't know. That guy scares me.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. Well, hopefully Aldo doesn't get any intimidated by him. Aldo was on a phenomenal winning streak for many, many years, and then Connor was able to expose him. He's had a few ups and downs in the last little while, but yeah, that experience, and who he trains with in Brazil, it should bode for him well to, have be able to put up a really, really good fight. I'm really unsure of this one, but, Yan is, one scary individual, and it looks like, if he can take out Aldo, then, bring on all the comers, he might be hard to topple off the throne.
Yeah, and it's just I know you and I saw it a bit differently. I know you had him beating Moraes, but I think the weight cut for Jose Aldo is going to be tough. I mean, getting down to 135, from a guy who was a big one. He was a big 145, not as big as Connor or anything, but he's a guy I would have seen going to 155 rather than going the other direction. So we'll see how that weight cut is. But Peter Yan, that guy knocked out Uriah Faber in the third round with a head kick. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's going to be really fun. There's other fights on the card, but let's just stick with those three for now. We can maybe do a preview call, or definitely just break it down after it's done.
Absolutely.
It's going to be it's the biggest pay-per-view we've seen since the pandemic hit, and so many guys chomping at the bit. It's great that we get 3 championship fights on the same card. That's a pretty rare feat. And
I am very curious though to watch the Jessica Andrade Rose Namajunas rematch. I mean, I want to see how Rose comes back, and see how she fights, because that's going to be a good women's fight also.
Yeah, I saw her talking to Ariel today, and she seems really dedicated, and wants to right that wrong against Jessica, and I'm excited for it too. Yeah, she hasn't been seen for good 7-8 months or something like that, and I think it's going to be something that you don't want to miss. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. There's a lot of good fights on that card, and there's a lot of guys who, like I said, we talked about guys I don't know. So again, that's gonna be fun to see.
Totally, yeah.
And it's a big card too. I mean, it's about 5 or 6 fights bigger than the ones we've been used to the last few weeks. So
right, yeah.
Reserve your whole day for it.
Yeah. Well, did you hear that they are actually starting the main card at 6 a.m. in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty standard. I mean, are they doing it 7 p.m. Pacific though? Is that because usually they do it Vegas time for the gambling, for the.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's not unusual. Oftentimes when they're fighting in Brazil, they're starting at like 1 a.m.
Middle of the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I think the main card's at 6. The prelims might have to start around 3 a.m. or something like that. So it's going to be pretty tough for fighters. And especially the American fighters, or the people come from North America heading over there. The body clock is going to try to get adjusted to the jet lag, and then all of a sudden, fighting in the middle of the night like that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think they're all over there now, and they're probably on. I mean, I think places like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, places are kind of like Vegas. They're kind of like always going all the time. Now, I don't know, is the arena's open air or not? Because that's another thing I'm wondering, what's the heat, how that's going to start affecting guys also.
I don't believe it is. No, I heard Dana White saying that he doesn't want to deal with any of the elements ever. So that's why
Perfect.
He doesn't want any fights outdoors or anything.
Well,
like that.
I remember they did one fight when they did that fight for the troops in Abu Dhabi. It was open air, and it was, I mean, the guys I remember the commentators were saying in their suits, they were just drenched by the end of it.
Wow. And I guess probably another reason why it's good to have the card so early, the heat won't be, affecting it as much. So yeah, it's too bad that they have to have that over here. So, it pleases us over here, over there for pleasing us here. But, I'm happy when it's a 7 o'clock card. You've been mad the last couple of weeks that it's been 5 o'clock card, and you don't get to see it until later.
Yeah, I know the 7 o'clock starts are awesome. I mean, I've been so used to, being a hockey fan growing up, have everything on center of the universe, Toronto time. We get shafted over here so often. So it's nice to have stuff finally, working off the Pacific coast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So, to me, I think we've broken it down. I don't think there's anything we haven't covered. So, it's been wonderful as usual, Scott. Thanks so much. This was a lot of fun, and always is. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll talk. Just try and talk before the fight, and it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I thank goodness the UFC's back.
Yeah, it was not a good hiatus for me. I missed it too much.
Yeah, no, I know. The only other exciting thing was watching that crazy NHL draft or draft lottery. I mean,
that was dumb, wasn't it?
That was
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. But thanks, buddy. Yeah. All the best. Have a great week. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay. There it is. Another podcast in the books. Fantastic breakdown from Scott. Wow, it's approaching like an hour and a half here, and felt like half an hour to me. That was just great. So fun to talk the UFC with Scott Holburn. He really has awesome perspective. Follows so many aspects of the fight game. I can't wait to do a breakdown of the teams with him and talk about some of the other organizations and stuff like that people don't know. It's funny when you see sports listed. It'll list NHL, NFL, NBA, MLB, and then it'll say UFC, and it's like, oh, okay, interesting. Like they don't, it's just called the sport UFC. It's not MMA, which is the sport. We're talking hockey, we're talking football, baseball. UFC is just the preeminent organization, but you would not believe how many fight organizations are out in the world. It's unbelievable. Every city has 3, 4, even small towns have fight fight promotions that put on fights, and so they're fighting around the world. People trying to get in. Scott and I were talking about all these newcomers in the last few weeks that have emerged, and then there's the ones that we love, like Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Dan Hooker. You're like, holy cow, yeah, they are at the top of the profession and had been able to really bring to the table some of the greatest fights we've ever seen in our history. And yeah, we appreciate it, guys. Hopefully your hospital stay was short, and we can see you back into the cage really soon. Thanks so much to all of you for watching, for listening. Another edition of the Complete Sports Media Podcast is coming to a close. Love you. Can't wait to see you again. Please tune in, tell your friends, subscribe, and download these podcasts, and yeah, keep coming back for more. I'm gonna just keep giving you content, and we're going to really have a lot of fun. So love you. As I said, take care. Bye for now.